All right, guys, should be live now. Welcome. We have a pretty decent sized slate for a Tuesday. 9 games, perfect size in my opinion. News wise, there's still a decent amount we're waiting for. If you take a look at Underdog, we can look at the big news. So Anthony Davis probable. Again, expect him to go. Don't think he'll play his normal minutes though. Van Fleet questionable is pretty significant because that's like 44 minutes that have to go somewhere. Fox is another big one. Hayward questionable. Clay is questionable. Claxton, Beverly, Thibault. So we have about 6, 7, 8 pieces of news they're waiting on. A few big ones. I think the biggest one probably being the Van Fleet, just because of the Toronto rotation, right? And the fact of, they're probably, whoever ends up starting is going to look pretty good for Toronto if Van Fleet ends up not being able to go. But yeah, guys, so this will be a Q&A live stream. Again, happy to answer any questions. So make sure to leave them in the chat. Again, appreciate all you guys' support. Appreciate you guys coming and check out the live streams every single day. The YouTube videos as well. If you do enjoy, just hit that like button. It does help me out a ton. Subscribe if you haven't already. Again, a lot of daily content here for DFS. But yeah, guys, leave some questions in the chat. Let's do it. Excited for these games. We've got some good games tonight, especially some of these later games. Like the Dallas Golden State game, I'm pretty excited to watch. A couple of games that look pretty good for DFS as well. So, yeah, let's do it. NAW season. Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans are extremely shorthanded, right? So who is going to score the ball for that team, right? 9 available players for the Pelicans as they're completely just punting this game. Yeah, basically every single Pelican. This is like the same situation with the Jazz last night. The Jazz had 9 available players that basically only played 8 guys. So Azubuike barely played, but yeah, a lot of minutes to go around here. A ton of production. So a lot of the Pelicans look pretty good in my opinion. Harden, NAW, Patty Mills, Herbert Jones, Hayes, Alvarado, Porzingis, and Embiid. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think this is going to be a Stars and Scrubs build just for the fact of all this Pelicans value opening up, right? And there are a lot of good spend ups at the top. So, yeah, I think that looks pretty good to me. We'll keep an eye on the Pelicans starting lineup. But again, I think every player that is active, in my opinion, is in play for me. He's almost min-price in FanDuel. Yeah, I mean, that's hard to get away from, right? He played pretty good minutes last night as well, right? And they had a lot more available players. He played 34 minutes. So I think it's finally NAW season. Yeah, Hayes or Hernangomez. So, I mean, it's just easier to get to Jackson Hayes, right? For some reason, Hernangomez is still priced up, even though he's been out of the rotation. Now, I do think what's going to happen here is Jackson Hayes will be popular because he's most likely going to start. And if he stays out of foul trouble, probably play some pretty big minutes at only 3.1K. Now, what you run into is foul trouble risk against Joel Embiid. So one way you can leverage the field is, I think a lot of the field goes to Jackson Hayes. Well, okay, you could play for, I'm going to hope Jackson Hayes gets in foul trouble. I'm going to play a lower owned Guillermo Hernangomez. So I think it's very clearly Hayes in cash, and you can consider going to Hernangomez to make your lineup different, or if you want to take that risk. I think Hayes is the optimal one there. Keldon Johnson, Temple, Wood, or Porzingis, Herbert Jones, and Korkmaz. Yeah, I mean, Korkmaz, keep an eye on Thibault, right? I talked about that in the Discord. If Thibault's in, we might see Korkmaz move to the bench, which I would probably not go there. If Thibault is out, I'll lean that second one. DFS Whispers, what's up, guys? How's it going? I see you guys grinding away on the content. Keep it up. Van Fleet is out. Oh, well, we just got that news. Okay, so now it comes down to, does Toronto move a guy like, do they start Scotty Barnes at the point, right? Or like they can start like point Siakam, like they can start point OG. Toronto has shown they want to have that, like the big lineup out there. So I'm wondering, like, I don't think they start a guy like Malachi Flynn. Okay, so Thibault's in and expected to start. Yeah, so that Korkmaz becomes riskier. But yeah, with Van Fleet out, then the question becomes, okay, so do they just, add, what they might do is they might start Achua and then run a really tight rotation, right? That's basically what we saw when Gary Trent was out, was they started Achua and basically ran like a 6-man rotation. So they might do that. Or, again, maybe they can dust off one of these guards like a Malachi Flynn. Let's see, who do they have in the depth chart behind Van Fleet? I'm just curious. So they do have Scotty Barnes, then Malachi Flynn. So maybe Malachi Flynn starts, but I would think they they keep the rotation tight and maybe just start like Scotty Barnes at the point. So we'll keep an eye on news there for Toronto with the starting lineup, obviously. This is best. Give them a like and follow. Great time. Oh, really appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you. NAW get blowout run. Rest of the team feels like they will. So in a blowout, let's see. Blowout for the Pelicans. Garrett Temple will for sure not play in a blowout. I don't think Gary Clark plays in a blowout. I'm not sure which center plays with Hernan Gomez versus Jackson Hayes. I don't think that's kind of a toss-up. The guys that will play in the blowout are probably Najee Marshall, Satoransky, Alvarado. He might, NAW might play in the blowout. I think the guys that won't play will be Temple, Clark, maybe Herb Jones, and then, whichever center's not out there. So I don't think it's a lock for NAW to play in the blowout, but I think he has a chance. Play the whole game, but NAW. Yeah, we're probably going to get at least 30 minutes from him no matter what. Will Wood have more fantasy points than Porzingis? It's a good question. I think both are in pretty good spots. I think since Porzingis is power forward eligible, he's a little bit easier to get to, right? Because the center's always loaded, right? So it's the opportunity cost of, okay, well, what's the cost of going to Wood in one of my center spots, right? So I like both. I think it's a little bit easier to get to Porzingis, though. As far as who outscores, I think they're going to project pretty close. So don't have a super strong lean there. I think it is a little bit easier, though, to get to a guy like Porzingis. But I don't know if Porzingis is going to be super popular, right? I think he's going a little bit overlooked. Golden State without Draymond Green is not the same defensively, especially in the front court. So would you be scared to stack Hernan Gomez and Hayes? You can. I don't think that's something I'm going to be looking to do, but it could work, right? They're going to split the 48 center minutes. Unless they both foul out, and then they have to go to, Gary Clark at the 5 or something. But, they're going to get 48 minutes. And, Hayes is not a bad point per guy. Hernan Gomez is the more productive of the two as far as, fantasy points. So I think you're capping your upside a little bit because, right, they're both only center eligible. So it's not completely out of play for me, but there's obviously negative correlation because they're almost guaranteed to not be on the court together. Now they're cheap enough where it's at least doable, right? Situation with the Suns centers and McGee and Biombo, and they were pretty cheap a week ago. You can do it, but I don't know if it's going to be the ideal way to go. Will the Philadelphia game blow out? I think it's a good chance, right? Let's see. Let's take a look at the Vegas odds for that one. Probably double digits, right? Let's see. But we all said that about the Suns, right? We're like, oh, Jazz are punting the game. Suns are going to blow them out. And sure enough, Jazz kept it close. So, 11-point spread. That's teetering on a blowout risk, right? So, I think it's pretty close to 50-50 whether or not it stays competitive or not. 4.6K utility, not Herbert. Probably another Pelican. So let's just see. Yeah, I guess it's going to depend on the starting lineup, but it would be NAW, and if you already have him, then probably Garrett Temple, assuming he starts. But I think the Pelicans' value is where you want to look to first. LaMelo or Siakam? Yeah, it's a good question. I want to see what Toronto does with the starting lineup, but I think I'm going to lean Siakam now. Also, it's nice. We have Siakam that's power forward eligible, right? He's no longer just a center. So it's also easier to get to him. Scotty Barnes or Pirtle. If Scotty Barnes starts at the point, I think it's a small lean to Scotty Barnes for me. If they start Malachi Flynn at the point, then it's basically a toss-up. Because Jakob Pirtle, I'm glad you brought him up. He has been playing a lot more of late. Now, sure, the last game was against Philadelphia, right? So they needed his defense against Joel Embiid, right? But even the game previous to that, right? This is a game against the Nets. He played 36 minutes. So, if we're going to get 35-plus minutes from Pirtle instead of the 30 we've been seeing from him for a while, then that makes him look a lot more appealing. Plus Houston, right? They play no defense. Thoughts on Trent with Van Fleet out? Probably gets a little bit more run. I think he's a fair option in the mid-range. My only issue with Gary Trent is what I always say. He's score independent, right? So he still has a floor. He can play big minutes and still hurt you. It's possible. But I do think he probably gets, instead of what we're seeing 28 to 30 minutes, we're probably going to see like 35-ish now from Trent. Holmes, Herb, or Hernan Gomez. I'll say Herb Jones right now. I don't play tiers now. Depends on the starting lineup for the Raptors. Yeah. So, like, the main guys are going to get a usage bump, and then, like, if Malachi Flynn starts at point, well, I like Malachi Flynn a lot. If they start Scotty Barnes at the point, I like Scotty Barnes quite a bit. So, kind of depends what they do. They're starting Gary Trent at the point, really. So, are they starting Achua at the 5 and Gary Trent at the point? That's a little bit surprising. Not gonna lie. I guess they want Scotty Barnes to that backup point. That's how they've been running the rotation. Gordon Hayward also out. Marcus Morris out. Okay. I don't want it. The Clippers. I hate the Clippers. Yeah. So Gary Trent starting at the point with Achua at the 5. Interesting. Okay. So, how much ball handling do we think Gary Trent does? I don't know if he's all of a sudden going to turn into this guy that's getting like 10 assists, right? But that does boost the appeal of a guy like Gary Trent. Also, again, we have Precious Achiuwa that's starting and probably playing a lot more, right? Last couple of games with Gary Trent back, basically kind of been phased out. But previous to that, when Gary Trent was out, we saw 39, 37, and 33 minutes. So I think Achiuwa looks pretty good here. And then even Boucher off the bench becomes more in play, right? His minutes have ticked down with Gary Trent back. Well, what happened when Gary Trent was out? 36, 38, 34. So if we're going off what Toronto has done recently, when there's been one player out, it's not been, they add another guy and play in big minutes. They basically just tighten the rotation and play the main guys even more, right? So I think the guys that get the biggest minutes bump are going to be Boucher and Achiuwa, as weird as that sounds, even though Fred VanVleet's a point guard, right? And we're talking about two bigs. But the way Toronto has been, if they keep the same path, the way Toronto's been running the rotation, it's the biggest minutes bump actually goes to Boucher and it goes to Precious Achiuwa. I think both look pretty good now. Yeah, I don't think Luka's gonna be that popular. I really don't. Right? I think the masses are gonna go to Harden, and for good reason. Harden looks great, but you have a salary cap, right? And with everyone going to Harden, Luka in an up-tempo game might fly under the radar, who has quietly been playing a lot more, right? He's been playing almost 40 minutes a game. So, yeah, sign me up for that. Sub 11K Luka has been playing really well. Do they change it again? I saw Gary Trent at the point, but again, how much? I don't know if Gary Trent's like going to do a ton of the ball handling. I think it'll be kind of just like a team effort, right? They can run some Gary Trent at the point. They can run some Scotty Barnes at the point. They can, like, Siakam can bring the ball up. OG can bring the ball up. So it's kind of like a positionless team, right, Toronto? So I don't know if I put too much stock into whoever starts a point. Yeah, what Porzingis got asked that earlier. I think it's basically a toss. I think it's a little bit easier to get to Porzingis. So point per dollar and position into account, I think Porzingis, but I think both look good. Guys, if you're just coming in again, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 100 concurrent viewers. If you guys do appreciate, or if you guys do like these free live streams, just hit the like button. Easiest way to support me. Also subscribe for more content, daily fantasy sports, and NBA Top Shot as well. Hayward out to Washington looks really good. Be careful. PJ Washington is someone that if he picks up a decent amount of ownership, I am perfectly fine fading. Right? Yeah, the minutes have ticked up from recently, but the minutes they're just not secure, right? We've seen games 19, 19, 20, 19. Complete bust. Sure, he's played well last couple of games. This game was a blowout, though. So I like his upside. If he plays 30 minutes, I think he's a solid tournament play, but he might be a little bit overowned. PJ, that is. I like Boucher. I think Boucher plays a lot more, right? I think Boucher and Achiuwa play a lot more. Herbert of that group. Harden, NAW, Barnes, Herb Jones, Hayes, DeJounte Murray, PJ, and Gary Trent. Okay. Gary Trent play the point guard. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of like a team effort. I don't know if we're gonna get again, I think it's kind of like a positionless team, right? So I think you'll get a multitude of guys kind of running the point. I mean, it's going to depend on the starting line for the Pelicans, but I think NAW is probably going to look the best of the group. Do I like Batum? Not really. I don't even with Marcus Morris out. I just hate this team. So like if you want to take some shots on the likes of a Batum, an Amir Coffey, Kennard, Man, maybe a Brandon Boston, sure, go ahead. For me, I'm gonna look to a team that's running like an 8-man rotation rather than try to take a dart on Clippers value and hope the Mets are there. I think PJ has more upside than Cody Martin. Yeah, PJ has more upside if things go right. I think Cody's a little bit safer. But I think the upside play there is Washington. My only concern there, as I mentioned, I think he'll be a little bit overowned. Yeah, Reggie or Scotty Barnes. So again, I think Reggie is just one of those guys that he has upside, right? So if you're willing to take the risk on Reggie, I think he's probably my favorite option. But also you have to factor in that like you can play Reggie Jackson, he can completely kill you. So I like his upside. He's been starting to play better of late. 41, 51, 34, and 39. So and he's been getting a ton of shot attempts up. So I think he's your upside play. I think Scotty Barnes is just safer for the amount of minutes he's playing, and I think he will get some point in a good matchup too. Like Charlotte is a really good matchup. Ant Edwards, Porzingis, or Halliburton. If no Fox, Halliburton. White and Pearl. Yeah, you could play them both together. I think that game looks pretty appealing. Charlotte Toronto stack. That's fine with me. Yeah. I mean, again, both teams run pretty tight rotations. Gordon Hayward out. Fred VanVleet out. Murray season. Talking about DeJounte Murray? Yeah. DeJounte Murray's in a good matchup. Yeah, Herbert of the group there. Mills, NAW, Scotty Barnes, Herbert Jones, Hayes, Harden, Korkmaz, and Luka. I see no issues with that. Patty Mills probably will be operating as the number 2 guy here behind Harden. Probably plays mid-30s minutes. I think he looks like a decent value. And then Korkmaz, if he starts, I think he's fine, but we do have Thibault in, so I'm not as high there. Yeah, I think we know with all this Pelicans value, it's going to open up. You don't necessarily have to, but I think there's a lot of value now. Okay, so we just got confirmation that Terrence Mann will start for Marcus Morris. So he's going to look like a pretty decent value play. Now, I still don't fully trust the Clippers, right? They have shown their rotations have been all over the place. And Terrence Mann, like the last 5 games, 31, 20, 39, 18, and 25 minutes. So, like, I think he plays probably at least 25 minutes in the spot with him starting, but you just never know. If he plays really bad, they can go to a lot of other guys. So, yeah, Mann looks like a relatively safe value, but still not fully confident in those minutes. Thoughts on Bruce Brown? I don't trust anyone on the Nets besides really Harden and Mills. Now, if Bruce Brown starts, I think he's more in play. But you got to know the coaches. So he's just like Popovich. You're going to get Steve Nashed a lot in your DFS career, right? Because he picks random names out of a hat to see who he wants to play big minutes. Seriously. Like you literally have no idea who it's going to be on a night-to-night basis. So if Bruce Brown starts, I have more confidence. But he could start and play 10 minutes, and I would not be surprised one bit. I don't build my lineups until like 15-ish minutes before lock, so yeah, I don't know. But Embiid's in a good spot. Hayes and Hernangomez are not good defenders. Hernangomez is an awful defender, so Embiid's in a really good spot, yeah. Herbert Jones, like we've seen some big games from Herbert Jones with all the Pelicans guys out, so he looks good. Portland, Minnesota game stack. Sign me up for that. That game's going overlooked. It's going overlooked, and that game has a lot of upside. Thoughts on Porzingis? I like him. Got fouled out in 26 minutes last game. Was on pace for 60 fantasy points, and then the random foul trouble. So, Golden State, no Draymond Green. Not scared of Looney defensively. I think Porzingis makes for a pretty good play. I think Porzingis is a little bit safer than Anthony Edwards. I like the upside of both, though. Ant-Man's in a really good... Like, the Minnesota-Portland game looks very appealing. Hayward ruled out. Thoughts on Hayes off the bench? Killing Hayes? Or who are we talking about? Talking about Jackson Hayes? Do we have Pelican starters? What's going on? Barton's out for Denver. Okay. I mean, that game's going to tinker on a blowout too, right? Detroit is awful. Detroit is awful. Yeah, I think it makes sense. So, like, if you're playing for that game to stay competitive, then, like, if you're targeting Jokic, you don't have to. It's not a must. But it does make sense to run it back with Cade because the way Jokic just get a ceiling game is if the game stays competitive. Well, if the game stays competitive, it's most likely Cade Cunningham having a pretty good game. So you don't have to, but I think it does make some sense to, if you're playing Jokic, to play Cade. Isaiah Stewart, I'm probably not going to go to. 4.7 for forward, probably Herb Jones. Let's see. 4.7, yeah. Yep, I'll go Jones. Thoughts on Bones or Morris with no Barton? They're more in play. We'll see what Denver does to the starting lineup, but we do have, again, Jeff Green, they said, is available, right? And Barton's out, so, like, I don't know if this changes much. A little bit of usage bump to a guy like Monte Morris. Probably some extra minutes for guys like Campazzo and Bones Highland. I just don't know if it's necessary. I think if you're going there, you're getting too cute, in my opinion. Right? Yeah, that's a good question. We'll see what they do the starting lineup. If Jose Alvarado starts, I mean, it's tough because are you do you think the game stays competitive? If the answer is yes, then I think you lean to that first one, assuming Alvarado starts. Because I think Embiid could just have like a massive game if this game somehow stays close. If you're worried about the blowout, just go to the second one, right? Barton could Highland be a... Yeah, again, I don't know if it's necessary. So, yeah, I do think they get more minutes. But also, right, we have Jeff Green. Denver loves playing these just, like, low-usage guys, right? Like a Jeff Green, Austin Rivers. Yeah, see, Jeff Green missed the last couple games. He's now back. So, yeah, Barton's out, but you're throwing Jeff Green in the mix. Austin Rivers is probably going to play big minutes. They just love playing those dusty old players big minutes. Yeah, not much interest in Kojo on the slate. Small lean to Scotty, I think, there. But I think it's pretty close. Thoughts on Little? We have Norman Powell back, so not much interest in Nasir Little. Where's the Coos? Yeah, where are the Coos droolers, if you will? Yeah, no real. I mean, again, Killian Hayes came back and played off the bench, right? Where's Killian Hayes? So he came back and played 25 minutes. And that limited Corey Joseph's minutes. So yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go to a guy like Joseph. And basically everyone in the Pelicans looks good. Yeah. I can't answer that because I don't know the status of Klay Thompson with Otto. So Pirtle or Robert Williams? I would rather go to Pirtle. Robert Williams, yeah. Pelicans starting Sandro Anthony instead of Alvarado. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest. If I had to guess, it probably would be Alvarado, NAW, Temple, Herb Jones, and Jackson Hayes. Yes, yeah, I like a lot of guys in that Lake team. CJ McCollum's one of them. With him and Simons, they've kind of been trading off big games. So I still don't have a great read on who exactly is going to be like the alpha here with these two. Because we thought, well, with CJ coming back and Simons took a hit, like, okay, Simons is going to go back down to kind of more of a reserve role. But then we've seen some big games from Simons, even with CJ in there. So that's the only downside. Plus, you do have Norman Powell coming back, and he's just a black hole. Like, he's going to shoot probably 20 times when he's out there. Scotty Barnes now questionable. Okay, well, that's obviously going to change some things now too, right? If he's out, then it becomes down to, all right, so who's going to start there? Yeah, again, so kind of just went over that with the Blazers. I don't know a super good read. I guess if I had to pick CJ, but not a strong take there. Nurkic or Wood? Basically a toss up. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a lean on that one. Yep. So then if he's out, the question is, so do they start Boucher or do they go? Because they've shown they will play a big lineup, or do they dust off like a Watanabe, a Svi Mikhailuk? Maybe they do now end up starting a guy like Malachi Flynn at the point. We'll see. Yeah, but they have shown that they can play like they've played Achua, Boucher, and Siakam together. Siakam's played a good amount of the three this season, which is weird. I think Towns will be contrarian. I don't think he's going to get much ownership on the slate, but I think he's in play for tournaments. He let me down in a big way last slate in a smash matchup, but I think he's playable for tournaments. So the reason you're going to Karl-Anthony Towns is not because he stands out at his price, right? I think the reason you're going to him is to try to go to a lower owned guy that does have upside in a good matchup, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns. Does he stand out? No, but ownership should be low, so I think he's a solid tournament play. Yeah, it's a good question. I'll say D'Lo, Pat Beverly's out because we've been getting more point D'Lo. If Pat Bat's in, maybe CJ. I mean, yeah, if Scotty Barnes is out, I think all the main guys look good, right? They might play 45 minutes. We might see 45 minutes of Siakam, 45 minutes of OG, 40 minutes of Achua, 35 minutes of Boucher, right? Like, I would not be shocked if that happens. Yeah, Fox is out. I would rather go to Halliburton, right? Halliburton has shown what he can do with De'Aaron Fox out of this lineup, right? He has had massive upside games. All right, guys, winding down here. A couple more minutes. I can stay live if there's any more questions. But yeah, should be a fun slate. Hoping to make some money here. Hopefully to not miss out by a couple points like I did in higher stakes last night. That was a little bit tilting. And then yeah, again, Raptors news is gonna be pretty big here. I think they could go a lot of different ways with this lineup, right? Westbrook, LaMelo, or Siakam. Siakam if you have the money. Yeah. It's a great matchup. I love targeting players against the Hornets. You got number one, a high usage player out of the lineup in Van Fleet. You got number two, a super tight rotation. Number three, probably the best matchup with the Charlotte Hornets. Chance of Harden scoring over 30 real life points. I think he's got a pretty decent chance, right? He's going to have to do everything for this team. So yeah, I think it's pretty good chance. Like Harden, again, he's going to do everything. So, and with there being a ton of value, he's going to be extremely popular too. Small forward. Yeah, it's probably going to be one of the Pelicans guys. Let's just see. I mean, Terrence Mann is interesting with him starting. He's been kind of disappointing of late. But I think you go to Mann or just one of those Pelicans. So you can go down to, I think Garrett Temple is 3-3. He's probably playing over 30 minutes. I think that's where I would go. Now, again, someone asked about Bruce Brown. Like if Bruce Brown starts, I have more interest in him. Am I confident in his minutes? Absolutely not. But would be a little bit more confident if he starts. So you have some options, right? You have Mann, you have maybe Brown if he starts, and then you have the Pelicans guys you can go to. I think are pretty safe. Any Lakers interested if AD plays? Probably not, unless we just get confirmation that he's full go. And I don't think they're gonna unleash him tonight. Harden small forward. What are we doing, FanDuel? Kevin Porter, Marcus Smart. I think the upside play is KPJ. I'm also Garrett Trent right now, and we'll just keep an eye on the Scotty Barnes news. Are you the only one that loves? I think everyone loves him today, so he'll probably be the highest owned player on the slate. Maybe Harden. That'll be close. Siakam over Tatum for me. Yeah, just because there's no Van Fleet. I do think Tatum's in a good spot too, but I think I lean Siakam. Harden, Graham. All assistants are avoidable at this point due to blowout. No, because we saw what happened with the Jazz game last night, right? We're all like, oh, Jazz punting this game. This game has a good amount of blowout risk. We're going to see 3/4 of Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and that's it. Sure enough, they kept it close. and Paul and Booker both smashed. So I think Embiid has insane upside if this game can stay competitive. But, it's the Vegas odds tinkering, I think, on a blowout. And, yeah, I think it makes sense, right? Pelicans are basically running a G League roster out there. Holmes or Achua straight up? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's Achua because of the minutes. Right? We've seen big minutes from Achua. He's not been super productive, but yeah, I think it's Achua. Trent over Zubac for me. Holmes does look juicy. Yeah. I mean, the issue is I think he only plays like 25 minutes, but Holmes does look good too. Does the snake sound? Harden, LeBron. OG or Porter? Which Porter? Kelly Oubre? Yeah, Kelly Oubre's in play without Gordon Hayward, right? Now, he did come off the bench and didn't really see a massive minutes increase. So, he's playable, but I think more of a tournament play. Unless we get news he's starting or something, right? Then I have more confidence with his minutes. Interest in Otto? A little bit. We'll keep an eye on Klay Thompson news. If Klay Thompson's out, I think there's just a little more run for a guy like Otto. So, Jalen. That's the one on the Charlotte, right? The McDaniels and the Martins, I always... Okay, that is the one in Charlotte. Kevin. Yeah, I think OG is safer. I think both have a pretty similar ceiling, but I think OG right now looks a little bit safer. Precious or Hernan Gomez. So Hernan Gomez is more like if Jackson Hayes gets in some foul trouble tonight, Hernan Gomez could break the slate. I think Precious is safer. I'm more confident with his minutes. But if something happens to Jackson Hayes, I think Hernan Gomez could smash. Yes, Cody Martin, if he starts, I think he's a pretty safe value play. Would assume we get around 30 minutes. Okay, guys. Well, that is going to wrap it up for me. So, again, we had about over 100 concurrent viewers this entire time. Really appreciate all you guys asking some questions. I hope you guys have a great night. Hopefully, you avoid any ejections, injuries, foul trouble, stuff like that. Hoping good variance is on your side. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. So good luck tonight, guys.